Well, everybody, now we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to everybody, and that is your money. Let me ask you this question. What do you think happens to your assets when you die? Do you think they automatically go to your next of kin? Well, you should know better than that. You should know New York State better than that. What you need then is estate planning, and it's easier than you think when you work with the pros at SC Parker. Certified financial planner Jeff Hahn is back to walk us through it because it's really easier than you think. But good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. But a lot of people think, well, I don't need to have a will. I don't need to have estate planning because when I die, it'll all go to my kids. Ha!
Well, yeah, and a common misconception, right? And it's really not as daunting as it can sound.
Right.
Just a little preparatory work and you can have things set up pretty well.
Right. If you put that in writing ahead of time, then it can all happen that way. So let me just ask you first, what if somebody does have assets and they pass away without a will or doing any estate planning?
Well, then it goes, there's a process called probate, right, which is a legal process, and the assets are divided according to the laws of New York State. If you have a will, so your estate, right, is your assets.
Right.
You know, it includes everything, your real estate, any investments, bank accounts, automobiles, things along those lines.
How much do you lose? What percentage of your assets do you lose through taxes in New York State if you don't have any kind of preparation?
Right. So the estate tax for most people isn't really a problem. On the federal level, it doesn't come into play until you're at $5 million.
Okay.
Okay. The inheritance tax in New York State starts around $1 million.
Okay.
There are things that are not covered under your will, though, and that is any retirement plans or life insurance policies or annuities. So those are things that you have a named beneficiary and the asset will normally transfer right to the named beneficiary almost on an automatic basis.
Okay.
Right? We can usually get that taken care of in about a week.
Right.
And we can set up now, there's been revision in the law, so you can have what's called a TOD or a transfer on death designation on your bank account and investment accounts so that it goes to who you want it to, again, within a week. So we're taking care of estates now, and we're not attorneys, but we're handling the asset side, and we're getting it all taken care of in less than a week in many cases. So
Jeff, do you need an attorney as well, or can you do it by visiting you?
Well, you can do a lot of it by visiting us, right? But when a person passes away, there is a legal process, so you do need an attorney. Yeah.
Okay.
And the drafting of a will, I would say you would definitely want to have an attorney for that.
How long can this probate hold up?
Oh, well, it's a minimum of 7 months in most cases. Right.
So if you don't have any planning, everything's going to go into probate, and your family is not. They're just not going to see any of this. It's not going to get resolved for a long time.
It does take a lot of time, you know. But again, it's a legal process, and the courts are involved, and there's a lot of stipulations, making sure that if you owe money to people, that they're taken care of, and things along those lines. You want definitely, I think, people want a will, right? Especially if you have any significant assets and you got heirs.
Right.
You also want to have, but there are other steps that we can help people with that smooth and speed up the process.
Jeff, is there any right age to start this? Or, I mean, do people sometimes say, I'm too young to think about this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really, your estate planning, the beginning stages of your estate planning really start when you start acquiring or creating an estate for yourself, when you get your first home, when you have your bank accounts, when you have your retirement accounts, if you have a job and you're working and they have a plan.
Yeah.
Or you start putting investments aside, that just adds another layer. These are all things that we help people with a lot, right? And folks of all ages and financial means. But the steps that can be taken to smooth the process, I'll give you an example, not that we have a whole lot of time, but one of our clients passed away. They're a couple in their mid-70s, and he passed away rather suddenly. And we had everything in a substantial amount of wealth, right? So everything was taken care of except for we found a bank account, a small bank account in his name, and one of the cars was registered in his name alone. Well, it took almost a year to get everything straightened out, right? Because they couldn't find a will and all the rest of it. And for what amounted to less than 1% of the entire estate, right? So 99% was all taken care of within a matter of days, but that other 1% just took all sorts of time and effort.
You know, and a lot of people think, well, my family knows what I want to do with my money, or maybe, certainly they don't really, because nobody's a mind reader, but you may have some money that you would like to leave to a certain organization, or you know, this is where you need to have that down in writing.
Right, and that is again another area where we can help people a lot, because if it's charitable gifts, maybe you make that out of the retirement plan, so it's not taxable, right? It's something you got to discuss with your tax advisor, and we have to say those kind of things. But we're doing that kind of work with folks all the time, and we actually have a little sheet here, right, an organizing sheet. So if anyone wanted to call our office, we'll get one of those out to them. You know, another thing, Linda, people need to discuss this stuff with their family members, right? It can be a tough discussion, especially for, you know, when mom and dad are getting kind of old. You know, they're sometimes reluctant to talk about it, and you have the whole family dynamic. But having conversations ahead of time, it just makes everything so much more smooth when that time actually
Well, you know,
happens.
you think, oh, no, it's going to be morbid if we talk about it. To me, New York State taking a big chunk out of my money is much more morbid. Makes me much more upset.
Right.
And I think everybody feels the same way, you know? I mean, the tax people get enough. It's time to make sure the law is on your side and that you're working with people who can walk you through it, to hang on to the money that you have worked so hard for your entire life.
You bet.
You know, and also it's important to put it down in writing if there's places you don't want your money to go. There are a lot of families where people are concerned. Maybe they don't like the people in their family. You know, I mean, it so happens. I mean, the way things are with families, you want to see your money get directed towards some people and not others, but you need to have that down in writing so it can be according to your will.
Well, yes, and in most cases, it's really not that hard and not that time-consuming. It's things that can be taken care of in a couple hours of time, and it saves months and months of time at the
And
back
let's look at it
end.
this way too, Jeff. What happens if you've done your estate planning with your spouse and then a divorce occurs?
That, you know, it's a common issue nowadays, sadly. Or if one predeceases the other unexpectedly, things along those lines. But these are all contingencies that can be documented and everything put in place.
It's a lot easier if this is already done.
Oh my gosh.
So much easier.
Yes, especially, you know, for the kids or, you know, those remaining. It's and again, it's not that hard.
No.
Right?
And you make it fun, kind of.
We try to.
Yeah, I think you make it as pleasant as possible.
Yeah.
And also, we want to let people know when you talk about things like a living trust, people still have access to their own assets. So it's not like you put this in writing and then all of a sudden you can't touch things anymore.
Yeah, you know, let's the next time I come on, we'll talk about trusts. Yes, because trusts are a big issue in and of themselves. But when you have a living trust, that means you're the trustee and you can have access and control of your assets. Yeah,
Right.
There's stipulations and contingencies that go along with that.
So you will talk to people about what they want to do, and then you can help steer them in the right direction of which legal terms are the ones that you're going to want to secure.
Exactly, and we coordinate and kind of quarterback the situation with the attorneys and accountants and everybody who's involved, just
See
so
that?
it's all on one
make it
page.
easy.
We do.
One-stop shopping, everybody, and you can make this all happen. That's what Jeff does. This is what these folks do at SC Parker, and they can secure the fact that your funds will be there for your next generation or when you need them. That's what they do all day long. So by all means, protect your money, protect where you want your assets to go, have some control over it, and walk out of his office feeling a lot better and say to yourself, you know what, this was easier because of someone like Jeff Hunt. Thank you so much, Jeff. We're hoping everybody will make an appointment. And don't think you don't have enough to make a will or to decide where you want your assets to go. That's a high misnomer. You do. But please, call Jeff and about it, and you'll feel a lot better about what you've got, and hang on to it and where it's going to go afterwards, right?
You got it.
There he is. Okay, we'll take a quick break and be right back. SC Parker and Company, easily found at 5892 Main Street in Williamsville. Give them a call right now and say, you know what, this is for me. 632-6800, scparker.com. Don't let another day go by without having your assets speak for you.